Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the SAP Business by Design. So, on this episode, we're going to be covering the approval process. So, what are approval process? So, approval process in SAP Business by Design are, is a way by which users or managers approve uh, documents. And documents like the sales process document, the procurement process document, the inventory or the internal logistics document process. These processes are processes that can be subjected to approvals. So on this episode, we're going to learn how to set up an approval process for a particular document, like for example, the purchase request document. We're going to configure the approval process document for the purchase request. And also at the end of the training, we now treat a situation where we post a purchase request document and use the configuration we've done so far to complete the approval. Okay, let's jump into the demo and let's see how this is done. Okay, so I'm going to log in as the administrator, like usual. Okay, so to start or to begin the setup, the process for activating or enabling the approval process in SAP Business by Design, we need to work with the Business Configuration Work Center. So I'm going to navigate to the Business Configuration Work Center. From the Business Configuration Work Center, I'll click on the Implementation Project. So here in the Implementation Project, we will have access to the list of implementation projects that we have in the system. So here I have only one project. You can even use the drill down button to see the list of all available projects. Okay, so to get started, you need to select the implementation project you are about to set up the approval process for. Okay, so here you can see the information that guides the implementation. So what we're going to do is to click on the edit project scope. So from the edit project scope, we have five phases, six phases rather, to set up the system. So the first phase is to set up the country region and the type of business. So the type of business can be the industry specific setup that you want the system to perform. Like you can have industry specific solution like oil and gas. They are kind of type of business that you can do. So we are not going to be covering the implementation of SAP Business by Design in this training. So we are only focusing on the approval process. So, and for us to do that, we need to work with the questions. So the approval process is based on some questions, the configuration questions that needs to be done. So here I'm going to click next to get to the um, step 4 of the implementation project. So I'm going to click next. So here in the configuration questions, we have series of processes that uh, can be configured. So in this series of processes, we can see some of the likely questions that guides the configuration of every process. Like for example, the purchase request and order management. So here, when we click on the purchase request, we have some configuration questions that we want them to be in the scope of the implementation. So these configuration questions are questions that will guide the setup of the SAP Business by Design system. So from this system, we can see uh, some of the questions here, like for automatic creation of purchase order. So do you want the purchase order to be created automatically from purchase request. So if you want a purchase order to be created automatically from purchase request, then this is the you need to answer the question and make sure that this is in scope. So when I select one of them, you need to set as review when you click on the in scope checkbox. Now, for every uh, configuration question of each processes that we have here, like the sales process, the procurement process, there are always the approval question. Like if you want the system to activate approval process for any of these documents, like for example, I have the purchase request approval, so it's not in review now. So the system is going to ask this question, like, do you want to use approval process for manual purchase request? So if you want to use approval process for manual purchase request, we need to select in scope. So the system will make sure it activates approval process for the in scope. So by doing this, the system is going to create a default uh, approval process for the purchase request. We are going to see that in shortly, very shortly. So after doing this, we need to set it as review, and if it is not reviewed, then we need to set it as not reviewed. So if it's reviewed, then the system is going to confirm the configuration as when we click on the confirmation or when we get to the stage of confirmation of the review. So this it can also be applied to the sales. It can be applied to any of the uh, relevant SAP process or business process that you are working with currently. It can be applied to sales invoicing, customer invoicing, selling and service, where you can have sales orders, customer contract, e-selling. So it can apply to any document that you're currently working with. So this question is very important. You can activate this question for any of the configuration for any of the business process that you're currently working with. All right. So after doing that, we need to click on the next button to complete the review, and a dialog box is going to appear where you need to accept the predefined questions answers. Okay, so the review is going to be complete, and you can finish to go to the next stage. Okay, so we need to close the confirmation and navigate to the application and user management. So in the application and user management, business configuration users can use this work center to perform business users management. You can set up business rules. You can set up your approval, do your configure your approval processes. You can also edit your form template and manage form template and so on. You can also perform what we call communication maintenance for uh, integration with integration setup with other application, other third-party application. So today we are just going to navigate to the approval process. So under the task distribution, we select the approval process. So from the approval process, we have some list of approval processes and their status. So currently, we are currently working with the active approval process, and for us to see the next all the approval process, we need to click on the drill down button. You can see the list of active approval process, inactive processes, expired processes with open approval tags. We can see approval processes for scheduled processes and all active approval, all processes. Okay, so I'm grouping the list of approval processes by related business documents. So you can see from here I have business partner approval. So this can be used to approve new supplier or customers or customer accounts that are created. You can also see some of the approval process for managing contracts. Then we have for customer invoice, this a list of approval process. Then we also have approval process for the purchase order document. But we are navigating to the purchase request. So by answering the scope of the approval process in the business configuration, automatically the system is going to activate uh, the approval process for any of the document process that you enable. So here we have a default approval process that was set up for the system. So this default approval process is what we are going to be using to create our approval process. So the default approval process, if we were to create a new approval process, we need to use the copy button to copy from the default. So when you enable or you answer the question of the approval uh, process in the business configuration, this default approval process, the default approval process is going to be created, and from this default, then you can create as many processes for the current document you are working on as possible. The only thing you don't need to do is to use the copy action button, which we are going to use. So when we click on the copy action button, we're going to see some of the information that guides this approval process that we're about to create. So here I can define the name for the approval process. Uh, this is the approval process line. First, we have the first step, then the step name, the work distribution, and the condition. So when we select this, these are the other information that guides the current selection that we have. So to have a brief understanding of what we're about to do. So the step ID is a unique ID. The step name is going to be defined, and the work distribution is actually very important. So here, this is where we can determine which work distribution is we need to use to guide this approval process. So when you click on the drop down button, we have some list of work distribution. So if you are working with approval by purchasing unit manager, or you want the approval by reporting line manager. So currently the default is approval by reporting line manager. So the approval by reporting line manager is going to work when uh, you have a purchasing unit, and under the purchasing unit, the person or the user who is actually set up as the line manager, the unit manager for that organization unit that was set up. Any approval that belongs to the purchase request is going to be directed to him as a task for him to approve. So, but we can, in spite of using the line manager, we can also use direct approvals to choose specific users who are going to be responsible for approving the purchase request document. So please remember under the work distribution, the, wo- the work distribution is based on the organization unit functions. So if we go to the organization unit in the org structure, here we can see the functions. So here in the functions, we can see the purchasing. So for example, if the finance org unit, if the finance org unit is selected, and it's the organization unit is marked for strategic purchasing and operational purchasing, then users that are going to be using this org unit must be defined. And under this employee, we have some list of employees. So the unit manager is actually the lazy, this employee. So if you go to the general information, we can see the unit manager. So this unit manager is actually going to be the one that will be managing the approval for the purchase request. So based on the work distribution here, like you can see, we have operational purchasing. Based on this work distribution, the unit manager is going to be responsible for managing the approval. So it depends on what we set up here. So if we select the unit manager, so the approval to be assigned by the unit manager, then it's going to be used. But we can use the direct approval and select the edit button. So when we select the edit button, we have access to pick any of the users that can manage the approval process. So I'm just going to select Kate Richards. Okay, so if I select Kate Richards, I just need to use the arrow button to make sure that this user is actually selected for that purpose. So I'm going to click OK. So another very important is the conditions. So the condition that uh, guides this approval process. So we can have a list of conditions like for this purchase request, I want to create a purchase request that is going to be triggered whenever the document is above a particular amount. I mean, the net amount is above a particular amount. So you can have um, as many conditions as possible. So the current condition we have is no condition, and that is because there is no condition that are listed here. So to do that, I need to click on Add Group. Then a dialog box is going to appear. So here in the dialog box, I need to select the field. So I'm choosing the net amount. So it can be by the buying company, it can be the product category, it can be a product ID. It can also be a requester. So if you have an employee who you want to subject to approval whenever they place a request, you can do that. So if it's a supplier, you can also do that. And if it's the net amount, which I'm going to use, so the compare operator is more of like, so the compare operator is what you use to compare the field you assigned here to the value you want to compare it with. So here I'm selecting the greater than or equal to sign, and any purchase request that is greater than 50,000 should be subjected to approval. So that is what this condition is going to do. So here I'm going to select the currency that I'm going to use for this purchase request. So I'm going to choose the Naira currency. So if all is well configured, I just need to click OK. And you can see the condition field is now changed to condition defined. And here we can see the approval as Kate Richards. So that's the person who is going to be responsible for the approval. You can also edit the condition or delete the condition. So I'm going to edit all the process information like the process name and the process step type. Please note you can also add more steps, and if those steps are met and if those steps condition are met, then you can the system is going to subject those steps to approval. Okay, so I'm going to click on the save and close, and the system is going to add this process as a draft. So I'm going to click on save. So it's added. So we need to go back to the application and user management, approval processes, and choose all processes. So I'm going to navigate to the purchase request. So we can see our request is now created and it's in the draft status. So the next we need to do is to edit the validity period. So using the edit validity action button, we can set up the validity status of the request. So to do that, the existing request process, I mean the approval process that was created, we need to set the validity status to end before the next validity and before the next approval process for the purchase request can be active. So to do that, we need to click on the draft status and select the edit validity. You can also delete this process if it's in draft or if it has ended, or you can edit to confirm the configuration for that. So I'm going to click on edit validity. So it's very important to understand the validity status. So here we need to make sure that these validity status are not overlapped. Like for example, when we are setting up the validity status for the approval process, we need to understand that this validity status is not going to clash with the default approval process. So here I'm going to select the from date. So the from date is actually a date that the process is expected to start, and we have the from date. So I mean the told date. So we have the from date and the from date time zone and the told date. So the told date is when you are expecting the validity period to expire. So, and these two dates must not clash with the existing process. So here I'm going to uncheck this validity period, and I'm going to choose the from date. So it's going to start on this date. Then the time is very important. The time is the system is going to choose the current timestamp, and we need to set this as unlimited, so the system can pick this validity period as unlimited. Then this and the default process, we need to now set the end date to uh, the current timestamp. I mean the date we want it to end. So the system is going to pick up that date and it's going to use it as the the end date to end the current default setting. So I've set up the validity date. You can see the valid date too, and this will end on this time, and this will begin on this time. So I'm going to click on save and close. Let's see what. So now it's created, and the default is now. Sorry, I need to scroll to the approval process. So you can see now the purchase request approval process is now scheduled. So the default is still active. So when the valid from time has elapsed, so the scheduled purchase request approval will now take effect from there, and the default is going to end. The status is going to become ended. So I'm going to pause the video and wait till the time it ends. So now the process is now active. You can see. So you can see the status of the process that we currently activated. So it's active, and now we can um, use the purchase request for approval. So any approval that is above 50,000 is going to, I mean, any purchase request that is above 50,000 is going to be triggered for approval. So let's see one of the procurement process for purchase request above 50,000. So I'm going to navigate to the purchase request and order work center from purchase request. So we for us to create a new purchase request, we need to use the purchase request, new purchase request and action button for the purchase request. So if you are not familiar with the purchase request training, there is a session in the SAP Business by Design supply chain training video that we've been uploading recently. You can go to the episode of the purchase request to see how to use purchase request. So we are not going to do that in this training. We're just going to create a purchase request straightforward and go to the approval stage. All right, so I'm clicking this. So I'm going to pause the video and run through the purchase request. So this is the purchase request we are creating, and I'm going to click on release to release the purchase request. So the purchase request is now submitted for approval. You can see the request is now submitted for approval. So let's see the drill down button to confirm the purchase request we just created. Okay, so if I go to the drill down button, you can see the list of all purchase request in sourcing, unassigned purchase request, assigned purchase request, inconsistent, open purchase request. So for us to now go to the purchase request, we need to go log in as the user that is going to approve the purchase request. So, but for before we do that, let's see the purchase request that is created. So this is the purchase request. So if I click on the view all button, you can see the full information of the request. So this is the full information about the purchase. So let's see the approval. Okay, so now you can see Kate Richard is actually going to be the one to approve this request. So we need to log out as the admin and log in as Kate Richards. So I'm logging in as Kate Richards now. So we are logged in as Kate Richards, and for us to approve the purchase request, we need to go to the Manage My Area, Approvals. Okay, so this is the document we need to approve. And if I click on the document information, which is the purchase request, I can use the action button, the approve action button, or reject action button, or send back for revision action button to complete the request, or I can just click on the document to see the document overview for further revision. Okay, so this is the document. You can see the three quantity. So I'm going to approve now. And you can see the entries is now saved. I can close, and if you go to the purchase order and request, if you log in back as the administrator, the document should now be released. Okay, I think I can have access to this from here. So here the purchase request document is now released, and we can click the view button to see the status of the approval. Okay, so if we click on the approval tab, and you can see the approved status is now approved and by Kate Richards. All right, so thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please shoot your questions in the comment section. And if you like this video, or if this video has helped you or improved your skills in any way, kindly like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and bye for now. See you in another episode of SAP Business by Design training. Thank you.